and it is not late. This is the big myth about the is it too late, isn't it too late, it's got to be too late talk. The impeachment of President Johnson happened later than this. The impeachment movement against Harry Truman, which accomplished the restoration of the rule of law short of getting to impeachment, happened later than this. The impeachment movement against Herbert Hoover happened later than this. Impeachments tend to happen late. You have to wait for some crimes and abuses to have occurred. And you know what? We don't have to have impeachment. Just impeachment hearings would accomplish wonders, not just politically for the Democrats, but in terms of making future presidents and vice presidents aware of the risk. Not to mention in terms of building a political party with a spine that differentiates itself from the other party. And not to mention restoring the Congress as the first branch of our government rather than a bunch of court jesters kissing up to the second branch of our government. And there is this other thing about, well, why don't we hold off and then prosecute Bush and Cheney? Let's have prosecution. That'd be better than impeachment. Impeachment's too hard. But here's the thing. The best defense in a prosecution, domestic or international, is going to be my people, my subjects, through their representatives in Congress, failed to impeach. That's going to be the best defense. But impeachment is going to aid any prosecution, and the public viewing of the evidence through impeachment hearings, even if we don't get to an impeachment vote, even if we don't hold one, holding those impeachment hearings is going to aid any prosecution. Now, they've held a lot of terrific hearings over the past year and a half. Give them credit. But most people don't know about any of them. Most of them have not even made C-SPAN. They hold the hearings. They display the evidence of quintessentially impeachable offenses, and they go home and have dinner, and they hold another hearing, and nothing happens, and no one knows, because it's not an impeachment hearing. And there's another problem with some of these hearings. Witnesses don't show up. Documents are not turned over. Subpoenaed witnesses refuse to show up, or they show up and can't remember anything prior to that morning's breakfast. This stuff goes away with impeachment. You lose this pretended executive privilege when it's an impeachment hearing. And if Bush and Cheney refuse to comply with that fact, then you impeach them for refusing to comply with an impeachment hearing, exactly as was done to Richard Nixon. The House Judiciary Committee passed an article of impeachment against Richard Nixon, again, simply for refusing to comply with a subpoena during an impeachment investigation. This is a Congress that claims to be serious about so many things, and yet the public doesn't buy it. And it polls lower than Bush and Cheney, the least popular president and vice president on record. This Congress is less popular. If it wants to have hearings that work, that are known, and that compel witnesses to testify, they have to be impeachment hearings. And don't tell me there's no time. When they can put baseball players through hours of grilling over steroid use, don't tell me there's not time. This is an insult to 230 years worth of Americans, starting with the people who wrote our Constitution. This is the most serious insult our Constitution has suffered, and I don't know if it will survive it. That's the urgency here. That's the urgency, to restore our Constitution while there is still time, to prevent an attack on Iran while there is still time. And John Conyers, chairman of the House Judiciary Committee, the man who wrote a book on Bush and Cheney's impeachable offenses, at least a sampling of them, prior to the November 2006 elections. John Conyers has said recently, and has said for the past year and a half, he will impeach George W. Bush after he attacks Iran, if he attacks Iran. Well, you've given the game away, Chairman Conyers. You've admitted that impeachment can be done. You've confessed that there is time for it. You've made clear that you understand that the process could be taken up without traumatizing the nation. But you won't do it until after another war. Now imagine if that war begins, and it is a very real possibility, the thoughts that will be going through your head as you take up that impeachment or fail to do so. Impeachment is the tool that has been given to the Congress to rein in an executive branch. But the threat of it is not there now. The president is not hearing your threat to impeach if he commits yet another genocidal war of aggression. He would hear impeachment hearings against the vice president. He would hear that loud and clear, and so would prosecutors. It's the only way, Chairman. And so, my advice to those of you out there considering this question, is it too late for impeachment? Take 2 minutes and do a couple of things. Call your representative in the House of Representatives and tell them to contact the House Judiciary Committee and sign on to the letter to the president saying you will be impeached if you attack Iran. This is a first baby step, and it will encourage Chairman John Conyers if other Congress members ask to sign on to that letter. And ask your representative to sign on to Congressman Robert Wexler's letter to John Conyers, encouraging him to initiate impeachment hearings on the vice president. And third, ask your representative to contact Dennis Kucinich's office and ask to sign on to his articles of impeachment against Vice President Dick Cheney. Articles that have been forwarded by the full House of Representatives last November to the House Judiciary Committee that are sitting there and gathering dust. Make that one phone call, and make it every morning if you can. Because every morning the answer to the question, is it too late for impeachment, is going to be no.
And why act like you care about the troops in Iraq? Cause if you did, you would let them fly back. It's cause of you them planes got hijacked. You also the reason Katrina victims had to die like that. They say you was hesitant, we say you was negligent. It's about time for niggas to impeach the president. Hey. Yeah. Dear President.